James, I think there is another pandemic coming, and it's not a viral pandemic. It's an emotional pandemic. It's a pandemic of fear, which is, fear is the worst place from which to encounter and embrace the future. I just put out a tweet this morning and put it on my Substack called Humanity's Speciation, the 5 forks that we will see ahead, right? We're about to fork humanity, if you would. And the first one is we're dividing ourselves into consumers and creators. I did a podcast on Moonshots with Elon at the beginning of this year for 3 hours, and we talked about universal high income, that his belief is we're going to see triple-digit GDP growth, right? Not like 3% GDP growth or 6%, but 100% GDP growth year on year. Insane, right? As the economy explodes.
This isn't your average business podcast, and he's not your average host. This is the James Altucher Show.
How are things going? I think it's been a couple of years.
And things are going 24/7, 7 days a week. AI has definitely not made my life easier. It's made me work harder than ever before.
Actually, that's interesting. Like, what are you using AI for?
Apps, doing research, sort of looking through the massive content of the internet and X and trying to find signal in the noise about what are the most important stories I need to be reading. I mean, I spend probably about 30 hours a week input on training my neural net, my brain, right? Seeing, watching YouTube videos, reading tweets, reading papers, trying to keep a sense of what's going on and trying to project where it's going. And then I take that into my Metatrends newsletter. I take that into my Moonshots podcast. But the speed is so fast. I mean, you literally need to be unemployed to keep up with everything that's going on.
It's really true. And like, first off, I read your Metatrends newsletter, the Moonshots podcast, your new book. All of it is excellent. And the question I have is it easy to get out of date really quickly? Like longevity, which we talked about before, longevity science. You look at like things that are happening at like almost speed on that. Like when you write something in a book, how fast before it gets out of date?
Oh my God. I'll talk about this a little bit, but my book, We Are As Gods, which is my follow-on to Abundance that you and I first connected on,
10 years ago.
Yeah. So it just came out this week, and it's the best book that I've done with Stephen Kotler. And it's really a book that shows the increasing level of abundance in the world, on the good side, but also the downside from microplastics and carbon and depression and so forth. But it looks at how do we navigate the next 10 years? What are the mindsets that someone needs to have so you're not in fear, you're not overwhelmed, that you're really in a place of curiosity, gratitude, purpose to navigate and utilize these technologies. And so Stephen and I wrote this book over the course of 2 years. And of course, the traditional publication process is one where you turn the book in, and if you're lucky, 8 months later, the book is on the stands. And
That's a super fast speed.
it is. Typically, it's a year or a year and a quarter.
Yeah.
And in that period of time, the entire AI revolution has gone 10 full cycles. And so it's like you've got to be writing to anticipate that this is going to be out of date, but it's directionally correct, right? So longevity is moving faster and faster without question as a result, again, of AI and AI, develop drugs and diagnostics and all of that. But longevity is slow compared to just fundamental, development of large language models and even robotic systems, and what Fei Li is doing, for example, in worlds, in other words, in fully virtualized worlds. I mean, all these things are moving at a lightning speed.
You mentioned something that I'm hearing more and more of lately, which is fear. Like, I've never seen abundance so correlate with fear before as I do now. And look, we've lived through some pretty big innovations, like, microcomputers, the PC, the internet, social media, and then I would say the first 8 innings of AI, if you want to say this is the 9th inning, although there's probably another 10 innings to go. But now everybody's like, oh, AI is going to take jobs. AI is going to, be the Terminator and kill humans once it realizes that humans are going to Like, there's so much ridiculous fear, but the jobs one is a legit fear. I mean, I have my own opinions on this. I'm curious about yours, but people are legitimately worried about it because they see that the nature of work is changing. What's your view on some of these fears? And also, there's the censorship fear. There's the fear that AI could poison us depending on bias. So there's various legit fears. Whether I believe them or not, I don't think I do, but I understand why people are afraid.
So, James, I think there is another pandemic coming, and it's not a viral pandemic. It's an emotional pandemic.
Oh, I had that 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's a pandemic of fear, which is fear is the worst place from which to encounter and embrace the future. And so that's a real challenge. And the fear is coming, as you said, from not knowing whether I'll have a career or whether I'll have a job. But there's another place that fear is coming from. And I've actually focused on trying to solve this second one. So the second place that fear is coming from is Hollywood. So all of the movies coming out historically have been dystopian movies about technology. It's killer robots, it's Black Mirror, it's Terminator, it's Ex Machina, right? And all of these movies are showing technology combating humanity. And if that's the future that you see, why would you ever want to live there? And so that realization that we got to change the script was something that I started working on about a year ago. I reached out to the Roddenberry family, Rod Roddenberry, who's a friend. His dad was the creator of Star Trek. And Star Trek for me was that hopeful vision of the future that got me excited to do everything right. He was like, no. Technology and humanity work together to go solve massive problems and moral, ethical, outreach into the cosmos. And so I've launched a global XPRIZE competition called the Future Vision XPRIZE. And that is focused on having people around the world create a 3-minute film trailer for a movie that they want to create that shows a hopeful, compelling vision of humanity, sort of the next generation Star Trek. And if your trailer and your film treatment is great, we're going to make your movie. So we've got commitments for around $15 million of capital to make at least one movie out of this. And so that's going to be, I'm trying to create an engine of positive storytelling, right? Flood YouTube with 10,000 positive film trailers about the future, but then create 1 or 2 major films for global theatrical release. So anyway, without a vision, the people will perish. Without a target, you'll miss it every time. So we're trying to give that target.
So you bring up a good point, though, about fear in Hollywood. I actually spoke at a conference recently that was just attended by Hollywood executives from every studio. And from the executives down to, the writers, the actors, the producers, the choreographers, they're all worried about what roles AI is going to take and what roles AI is going to create. And so this is along that theme of like every industry is realistically being shaken up, just like it was shaken up by the internet, but even more so. I think it is important to address the fears that's usually the first thing that comes up when people ask me about AI.
So listen, AI is going to be in the water, in the air. It's going to be embedded everywhere for all people, right? Today, if you've got a smartphone, and there are more than 8 billion smartphones on the planet, you've got access to intelligence. It's the most powerful force known to humanity. Intelligence is what's differentiated us from every other animal on the planet. We're not the smartest. We're not the strongest. We're not the fastest. Hopefully, we're the smartest. And that intelligence is now become accessible to everyone, way beyond what Google did and Baidu did with giving everybody access to knowledge. This is hopefully some access to wisdom as well. And it's how you use this that matters. And it's no different than the Industrial Revolution, whereby, people were like, oh my God, if these machines end up taking away the labor that I was doing, what am I going to do? Right. Well, you're going to manage the machines. And here we're going to partner with AI. You're going to manage AI. You're going to use artificial intelligence, which will soon be just called intelligence, to do things 100 times faster and bigger than you've ever conceived. We are so limited in how we think about what we can do, right? Everybody's limited in what they believe the impact they can have or the scope of what they can do. You know, I've been talking about this since I started Singularity University with Ray Kurzweil, that each of us have the ability to positively impact the lives of 1 billion people on this planet, right? And my message to everybody is think bigger. You know, whatever you're thinking, think bigger, because you're going to have the ability to do that. The other thing is most people on the planet, you know, you and I are lucky that we get to do the things that we love to do. Most people have a job not because they love that. It's because that's how they put food on the table or get insurance for their family, right? So how do we use AI to actually do the stuff that you've always wanted to do by self-educating or by partnering with AI? I mean, these are the futures we have.
And I guess this goes back to the title of your first book, Abundance. People often don't have an abundance mentality. For instance, there is a limited supply of money. Now, we know as an economy does better, there's more money to go around. But a lot of people don't feel that that money is for them. They have like a scarcity mentality. And I think people feel that, oh, if some of the money is going away or going towards AI, it's not going to me. But what you just said is really important. If you learn how to use AI as a tool, as an ally, as a partner, as an assistant, as a cohort, everybody can learn that. Again, I'm biased. I've been using technology all my life. I've been using AI for 40 years in its earlier stages. A lot of people who have, let's say, labor jobs or other kinds of jobs it's not easy for them to use AI as a tool.
Let me take this a slightly different way. In the first half of We Are As Gods, basically talks about exponential technologies, principally AI, increasing abundance globally on the planet across everything. There's nothing scarce. Shows that point and gives the incredible stories the entrepreneurs building it. The second half of the book is really about how do you navigate it, right? And one of the most important things for navigating the supersonic tsunami that's about to hit us is your mindset. And I think of mindsets as the single most important thing any of us can focus on. If you ask what makes the greatest leaders on the planet, is it the money they had, the friends they had, the tech they had, or was it their mindset? I would argue it's their mindset. The way they deal with opportunities or they deal with challenges is your mindset. And you train your mindset. We train a neural net in AI, in a large language model. You train your mindset by the things you read, the people you listen to, the videos and the TV shows and the podcasts. All of the content you're bringing in is how we constantly train our mindset. And if you believe, which I wholeheartedly in my heart believe, that your mindset is the most important asset you have as a mom or dad, a CEO, an entrepreneur, an investor, then my question to you is, what mindset do you have? Right? Where did you get that mindset? Was it something you just happened into from your parents or your school or your friends? And more importantly, what mindset do you need for the decade ahead? And so I outlined what I consider the 7 key mindsets, a curiosity mindset and a purpose-driven mindset together are really what you need for AI. You need to think of AI not as something that's happening to you, but something that's happening for you. And where you're just using it, you're curious, you're investigating, you're trying to learn. It's like, I don't understand that. AI is the most infinitely patient and compelling teacher there is. And then a purpose-driven mindset, discovering your purpose, absolutely critical, because that's your intrinsic motivation. I'm going to use AI to fulfill my purpose.
How do you find your purpose?
In the book, I go through it. Purposefinder.ai, I think, is a free website I've used. And I've written about this, so there's passions and then there's purpose. And when I think about purpose, I think, there's a great quote from Mark Twain. It says, there are 2 important days in your life, the day you were born and the day you find out why. And purpose is something that is unveiled in the process of experiencing as much as you can. So when I was growing up, it was the Apollo program in Star Trek that lit my soul on fire. And my purpose initially was help open up, the cosmos. And then, I sort of update my purpose every decade or so. It's something I'm going to live with for a period of time. If I were to ask you, there are questions you can ask and I go through. It's like, if I gave you $1 billion to make the world a better place, how would you spend it? Right? It's the end of your life. You're looking back. What are you most proud of having accomplished? Right? You read about something that's happening at a local event, but you would have to cancel your entire day to go and attend this. What is the title of that? What is it that would capture your heart so much? A purpose is an emotional effort. It's not cognitive. A purpose connects with incredible awe. It's like, oh my God, I want to be part of that. For me, there was that awe of a journey to the stars. Or a purpose can be driven by emotional pain, right? Like, I refuse to ever let that happen to anybody else on the planet. I'm going to crush that. I'm going to solve that. So, these are elements of finding a purpose. And at the end of the day, it wakes you up in the morning, keeps you going through the day. When you stumble, and we all do, and I remember this, right, where my financing has failed, my rocket blew up, whatever the case might be, I have to pick myself off the floor. It's that level of emotional energy combined with your purpose, that guiding North Star that enables you. Now, adding AI to that is like adding rocket fuel onto that fire, because now you can dream much higher than you ever could with your purpose.
Yeah, it's really true. Like, I find right now, still most people I know are not really using AI, and I feel there's a huge arbitrage. The people who are using AI in their jobs, lives, even their personal lives, have a huge advantage over the people not using it. So I think probably the listeners of this podcast are more likely to be using AI on a daily basis. But if not, use it for everything. Like, literally, I use it for everything.
I just put out a tweet this morning and put it on my Substack called Humanity's Speciation, the 5 forks that we will see ahead, right? We're about to fork humanity, if you would. And the first one is we're dividing ourselves into consumers and creators, right? They're going to be people who sort of sit back and just consume what comes our way. And there are going to be those who are utilizing this incredible technology to create. And I think that division, like what you just said, using AI to be a creator every day, waking up in the morning and creating something and getting into that habit of, I see an opportunity, I create that opportunity, right? That's what people are using Claude Code for right now. Incredible tools that are coming out of Google. It's never been easier, but people self-limit themselves. So, get on a large language model and just say, I want to know how I do X, Y, Z, and then follow it step by step.
It's really amazing. Like, if my dishwasher is broken, I can take a picture of my dishwasher being broken, upload it to ChatGPT, and it will tell me what is wrong with it and how to fix it. It's amazing. So in addition to, okay, how do I, code using Claude? Like, it also is helpful for those, those things as well. Or how do I jet ski, whatever it is. But here's what I want to know. When do we actually see the world change? And maybe it's just changing, bit by bit, so we don't notice. But when are all the drugs going to be created that supposedly AI is cooking up with AlphaFold and protein folding? Like, when are we curing all the diseases?
Happening now. It's just, we're in this exponential curve, right? And we're in the beginning of the innings of the small doublings. Where 0.01 becomes 0.02, 0.04, 0.08. It all looks like zero, but 30 doublings later, it's 1 billion times bigger.
Yeah.
So the next, the 2 to 5 year horizon is the game. I think about this, right? So in the next 2 to 5 years, 2 to 6 years, 2 things are going on, right? One is societal disruption, which is a real challenge. This is people losing their jobs. This is people not getting hired. This is people being angry about the impact of that, because we're about to re-engineer the economy. I did a podcast on Moonshots with Elon at the beginning of this year for 3 hours, and we talked about universal high income, that his belief is we're going to see triple-digit GDP growth, right? Not like 3% GDP growth or 6%, but 100% GDP growth year on year. Insane, right? As the economy explodes. So that's going on one end. The other end is we've got ASI on the table, artificial superintelligence, not just artificial general intelligence. We have AI having solved physics, biology, medicine, material sciences. And all of this is this very rapid acceleration, this hard takeoff across solving all the sciences that give us fusion and room temperature superconducting and added 30 years of health. And it's going to take a while for the humanities to be able to distribute these breakthroughs, to be absorbed, because it's going to happen, but it's going to take then years for it to flow through all parts of society.
Right. Like take, drugs as being a classic example where just because AI comes up with 1,000 new drugs, now you begin the 10-year FDA trial process, a process that might have to be reworked because of AI, but that, there are drugs going through the process now that are just in the beginning. So we don't even, and they require $1 billion in 10 years.
Yeah.
When you're talking to Elon, I'm curious, what's the economics of triple digit GDP growth? Like, that's going to get accompanied by inflation because suddenly there's going to be a lot more money going around.
So I've written about this again, and I've had these conversations now twice with Elon, once on the Moonshots podcast and then at my Abundance Summit. So where are we today? We're going to see a lot of youth not getting jobs. At the same time, we're going to see companies do what Jack Dorsey did with Square, where you cut a significant percentage of your employees because you can now do just as much using, the large language models, the multimodal models, and the reasoning models. And what happens is your profitability goes through the roof as a company because you have, you're dividing by less cost, but you're going out substantially. So we're going to start to see companies operating at 20% of their current size, meaning 80% reduction in staff, down to 20%, but increasing profits massively. That's going to occur at the same time that reduction occurs. We're also going to start to see 4, 5, 10 times more companies being started. We're going to see this blossoming of entrepreneurialism out there as solopreneurs, small groups use this technology. I'm starting more companies than ever before right now because of what's possible. And I know a lot of people doing that. So that's what's going on in the economy. It's creating a much larger tax base because of this. What's also going on is because people are losing their jobs and there's a great deal of fear and social unrest, timing for that is 18 months, 2 years, 3 years at the outmost. The only thing the government can do is one thing, it's write checks. It's like COVID again, it's COVID checks, but this time they're larger. This time they're probably $3,000 a month for, the portion of the US population, probably 200,000 out of 200 million out of the 300 million. They're writing large checks to help people navigate and survive. So what happens at the same time? So that causes inflation, a substantial amount of inflation as the government prints money. The next thing that occurs is these technologies, in particular, post-AGI, humanoid robots, massive increases in manufacturing, start to deliver demonetized services. What does that mean? So today, you've got Waymo and you've got Uber. You're about to see Cybercab. You're about to see Zoox. You're about to see Uber's autonomous vehicles. And probably you're going to see another 5 or 10 autonomous car companies on the roads, which are going to drive down costs massively, right? It's competition because it's easier to build this will drive down costs. And your cost of transportation, the poorest people will be chauffeured and your cost of transportation is going to be, 10 times cheaper than owning a car. The best healthcare in the world will be free, delivered by AI. The best education in the world will be free, delivered by AI. The things we spend money on. So all of a sudden, there's this massive demonetization that is also occurring. And, Elon's point of view about universal high income is that as the tax base goes up and the government's able to write checks, at the same time, the cost of doing all the things we need to do is dropping through the floor. When I had him on my stage at the Abundance Summit, this past March. He said, we're going to see a world where robots and AI are going to produce so much stuff that you could not ask for enough things. You couldn't think of enough things for them to fulfill their docket. So they're just going to be producing, what do you want? Okay, it's done. Here it is. And that's this world of extreme abundance where you can have anything you want, anytime you want, anywhere you want, and accelerating.
Well, on your Moonshots podcast, obviously, and your Metatrends newsletter, you see the most amazing things that are happening like right now, this second. Like, what's blown you away where even you were surprised?
What surprised me was how quickly the conversation went from data centers on the planet to data centers in orbit. We went from, let's see, timing. Last November 25, was the first time this started being discussed. And then all of a sudden, everyone's discussing it. And every company is thinking about orbital data centers. NVIDIA's creating orbital data center chips. Google's focused on orbital data centers. Of course, Elon's, Starlink V3 and V4 are the precursors. And so the idea that we're going to get to terawatts of compute, and of course, AI is now measured in energy versus chips. So terawatts of compute in orbit, and then petawatts of compute as we mine on the moon. So that whole ecosystem of moving our compute infrastructure out of the backyards of communities, because everybody's like, voting against data centers, not in my backyard, which I think is pretty damn silly. I don't think the reasons that they put forward make sense. I think this is massive economic upside for communities.
But what does that even mean? Like, what difference will the compute be in petawatts versus gigawatts?
It means the amount of computation that's available for everybody's got access to godlike AI way beyond what exists. It means that if you have a medical condition, AI will solve it for you. If you want to understand, you want to do experiments that you're not trained for, you can partner with AI and robotics to make that happen. You can do anything you want. I mean, it's a level of, that's where the name of this book comes. We are as gods, and you might as well get used to it. It's a survival guide to the age of abundance. We are becoming godlike across the board, and we self-limit in that regard. So what would you possibly want? You want to go explore the stars? You want to,
Okay, here's an example of what I want.
Yeah.
I want to say, teach me chemistry. And then a second later, my brain has
Sure.
implanted in it everything about chemistry. And I suddenly remember as if I had studied this yesterday.
So what's going on right now in this field is the whole realm of brain-computer interface, right? There's probably about 20 serious companies. I'm involved with 4 or 5. All right, you've got Neuralink, you've got Max Hodak with science, you've got a recent Sam Altman-backed company called Merge Labs that Sumner Norman, a friend of mine, put together. You've got Mary Lou Jepsen with Open Water. All these companies are focused on connecting your neocortex with the cloud. And the ability to actually think and learn, or think and control, or to put yourself inside of an Optimus robot or a Figure robot, in New York, or you're in New York, I'm here in LA. On the other, for you to come here to LA and feel and see through its eyes and manipulate it, all of these things. And yes, even the idea, this is the work that Max Hodak is doing at Science with an incredible approach to BCI, that you'll be able to upload a working knowledge of field into your mind in a way that feels like it's embedded memories, that you understand it and you know it. I mean, this is an extraordinary future that's coming. It's all insane and it's all science fiction. And guess what? Intelligence is the mechanism by which we get there. And intelligence is now beginning to flow like water and electricity and increasing in capability.
It's interesting because what will that do to effort? Like, if people can just learn, like previously it took 10 years in school to learn chemistry, at a PhD level. The people who did put in that effort, will they have any advantage over the people who just get downloaded the whole syllabus?
learning by hard work, by going through school, by basically, the wiring of your neural net, and then being able to run inference, right? So we train our brains like an AI neural net gets trained. And then once our brains are trained, we then do inference like we do inference on a neural net. Therein lies the opportunity. The opportunity is basically for us to get the training done in a neural net outside of our brain and then be able to run inference on it the same way we do inference on what we've learned in school. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And, I think there's the meta benefits to hard work is that if you, trained yourself to have those meta skills, that's probably something you can't just download into your head.
True. But I think that AI is going to give us the ability to do things that we don't currently understand. It is something within the realm of physics or biology or not. If it's within the realm of those sciences, then we're going to be able to pull it off, right? Does it disobey the fundamental laws of physics? If it does, then forget it. If it doesn't, then it's a matter of having enough knowledge and information to implement.
It's an interesting thing. Like the book is titled "We Are as Gods," and it's interesting because our civilization has only been, let's call it technologically savvy for best case 300 or 400 years. Like say printing press and then industrial revolution and then computers only in the past 70 years. So you imagine if there's other civilizations in outer space, out of the quadrillion or so stars that are out there, if there's other civilizations with conscious beings and intelligence, they're probably millions of years ahead of us or millions of years behind us. But let's obviously take the ones that are millions of years ahead of us, which is just a drop in the bucket of the 14 billion year age of the universe. What they must have developed AI a million years ago as opposed to 1 year ago. How much, where are they now? Like, they're probably all around us right now. We don't know because they're a million years ahead of us.
Can I give you the calculus there for me? First
Yeah.
of all, I think life is ubiquitous in the universe, right? We are living in a universe of trillion galaxies as the last estimate and 100 billion stars per galaxy. And there may be multiple universes. We don't know. The multiverse may well be true. Yeah, if you look at what is the highest atomic number element in our body that we use on a regular basis, it's iodine. And if you look at when did iodine come into existence? So all the elements in our body have gone through stellar evolution, right? All the elements began as hydrogen and helium and then fused to create higher and higher elements through the process of supernova scattering the elements and then coming together into a star. And so by some estimates, the elements in our bodies have been part of on the order of 100 stars over the last 14 billion years. And so the question is, when did iodine come into existence in this process of stellar evolution? And it's about 1 billion years after the Big Bang. So the elements to create life like us existed 1 billion years after the Big Bang. Now, we need to have enough density and so forth. But the point is Earth, our sun, and our solar system began 4.5 billion years ago. So call it, for rough orders, 10 billion years after the galaxy evolved, or it was started in the Big Bang, if that Big Bang is still true. Now the question is, okay, so intelligence of our level and greater could well have started, as you said, not only millions of years earlier, but multiple billions of years earlier. And so what does life look like? I mean, I can't predict what life on this planet is going to look like in 50 years or even 20 years, let alone 1,000 years, 1,000,000 years, or 1 billion years. And so the idea, I think life is ubiquitous because of the numbers. I think that any advanced life that is more than, let's call it 100 years more advanced than us, number one, could be on this planet undetected. I think the stealth capability, if they wanted, would easily be possible for them to avoid our detection. Just like you could imagine if you went back to a primitive, species of Homo sapiens 100,000 years ago and had drones flying and sensors in the field that they did not even conceive of what those are, right? You could be present and not be known. So I mean, that's my thesis. Now, it's interesting to have seen all the recent, press on things like Age of Disclosure, the movie. Did you see it?
No.
So it's a great Netflix special in which they interview all of the military brass from Army, Navy, Air Force, members of Congress and Senate who have seen all of the UFOs, the captured UFOs, the alien bodies. And you're like, it's pretty wild that individuals at that level of our society, right? I don't think of generals in the military bullshitting us, right? But they're like very definitively, very vehemently, like, this is real. I've seen it. This is being hidden. And then, of course, Trump has talked about disclosing all the files. So we'll see what happens. But it's definitely an interesting time to be alive. We're giving birth to a alien species right now, and that's the AI systems that we're birthing as well.
What do you want? What are you excited to see a moonshot in? Because there's going to be moonshot now that it's not just AI. AI is converging with every industry, every science, as you've mentioned. So what moonshots are you looking forward that are going to just shock us or change our lives?
Just wrote this Substack and tweet on human speciation. So what are the things that are going to significantly change our directions that people have a chance to either opt into or opt out of, right? So again, the first one right now is, are you opting into being a creator versus a consumer? Are you Star Trek, or are you, Wall-E future? The next thing is going to be extreme life extension, health extension, right? I think, we had Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic, on stage a year ago saying that he believes because of AI in the next 5 to 10 years, let's call it 10 years, we had double human lifespan, right? If we're doubling human lifespan, if you're able to live, James, an extra 50 years, during that 50 years, the breakthroughs that are going to occur in terms of biology and nanotechnology, all these things will likely give you an indefinite lifespan. So another fork in the road is, do you want to keep your mortality? You want to keep your average age of, 79 in America today? Or do you want to double your lifespan like we've doubled it before? The next fork in the road, so longevity is a big area of focus. We have a $101 million healthspan XPRIZE going on right now to reverse the ravages of aging in cognition, immune, and muscle by 20 years. The next fork in the road is going to be exploring space. We're, on the back of Starship V3, which is about to launch. We're building the Conestoga wagons, if you would, that will take us to the moon, to Mars, to the asteroids, and beyond. So that's going to be hugely exciting. And then the next one is, are you going to upload yourself? Right. There is recently, what we saw was a company called Eon digitize the brain of a Drosophila fruit fly. I think it was 54 million neurons. And they're working next on digitizing the brain of a mouse. And then their goal is digitizing the brain of a human, of you or me. We have 100 billion neurons, 100 trillion synaptic connections, which hold our memories, our thoughts, our mindsets. So do we end up uploading ourselves where we become a digital consciousness and digitally immortal in that regard? Some people believe that is on the horizon in the next decade. So these are fascinating, sort of splits that humanity will choose, accelerated by all of this. We're going to speed run every science fiction movie in Star Trek.
And I wonder, like, all that sounds great. Even the uploading, although I guess consciousness is an unknown problem right now that hasn't been solved. The longevity will change my daily life, obviously. But what else is going to happen in the near future that is going to change my daily life?
In your daily life, we're going to see the following kind of scenario. You're going to give your personal AI, all right, call it Jarvis from Iron Man, if you would. I've named my AI Skippy. You're going to give your personal AI access to everything, all your conversations, all your Zoom chats, all your emails, and it will have access to the cameras in your home. It will be listening. You'll give it access to all of those things because in so doing, it makes your life automagical. What does that look like? What does it feel like? You're sitting at the breakfast table with your family. You get up, you start walking towards the front door. Your AI knows your schedule. It knows where you're going. It's already called a cyber cab for you that's waiting in front of your door. You didn't have to do anything. You go into the cyber cab and your AI knows that you didn't get much sleep last night. So it's called up a cyber cab that's got a lie down seat in it. So you can sleep on the way to your meeting, right? I'm looking at you and I, notice, a vase in back of you and I'm like staring at it. My AI understands where I'm focusing. It pops up and says, "Would you like one of those?" And I say, "Sure." And it orders it for me without me even thinking about it. The world becomes magical. You walk into a room, the music changes, the temperature changes for your desires. The world is conforming around you and for you. The food that you're fed isn't just random. It's based upon my taste profile. It's also based upon my blood biochemistry. And what do I need in that moment? Do I need more vitamins, more proteins? And my AI chef, maybe it's powering a Figure or Optimus or Neo robot in my kitchen, is making the perfect food for what my physiology needs at that very minute. My AI is educating me always. So I've got virtual or augmented reality glasses that I'm wearing because we'll transition from the handset to that. And it knows that I'm interested in history. And so as I'm walking down the streets of Manhattan, my AI is pointing out historical activities. And maybe it's even superimposing what that street looked like in 1926, 100 years ago. And it knows I'm shopping for something and I want to shop. The AI would normally go ahead and just buy it for me and just have it delivered on the door. It fits perfectly because my AI knows what my body is. It's from the imagery able to measure everything. And so whenever it orders anything for me, it fits perfectly always. And by the way, I can also have it spin up a fashion show. So there's a runway and there's 30 Peters on that runway walking, each one wearing a different outfit. I'm looking at it in my virtual goggles and I say, yeah, that's the one I like. And then all of a sudden I look in a virtual mirror and I'm wearing that outfit. I go, yeah, it's perfect. Order that for me. Right? I need something to buy something. And all of a sudden, rather than me, looking at ads, because I just say, buy me the best toothpaste. And the AI is not going to look at ads. The AI is going to understand what my oral health is, my genetics, all of that. And it will evaluate the chemical makeup of all the toothpaste and order me the one that's perfect for me. Right. I mean, these are just examples of what will be enabled by a personalized AI mixed in with sensors all around us, mixed in with the next generation of AR glasses.
Yeah, no, all of this is amazing. And it also begs the question, like, from what you're saying, all of industry will change. So for instance, the toothpaste company will no longer get an edge by spending more money on ads. You only get an edge if you're basically plugging into this AI layer of the world now. So, okay, I'm going to work with the AI interfaces. So I'm making custom toothpaste for all my customers. And, I have to change all the processes and everything if I have a toothpaste company. So every company will change.
Yep. It'll change, marketing. It'll change manufacturing. Um, in every single way. And again, the consumer experience is what you asked about here. I think AI has been fairly invisible in our lives thus far. It's been present, as we're using ChatGPT or Gemini or Grok, whatever the case might be. But we're about to see AI begin to manifest in a physical layer in this year and definitely into 27 as not one, but like 5 different autonomous car companies start driving on the streets for us. And as we start to see Optimus and Figure robots and Neo robots entering the homes, entering the workplace. So the physical instantiation of AI in our world. And then as we, welcome it into our home. The other place, as an example, where we're going to start to see AI is you're going to turn on AI health coach, right? And I'm wearing an Oura Ring, an Apple Watch. I usually have a Whoop on as well, or continuous glucose monitor. We're going to start to see much better sensors on our body, in our bedroom, in our office, all those sensors feeding data to our AIs that are then, if you turn on Health Coach, is giving you advice, right? It's like you just finished this podcast conversation and my AI reminds me, okay, now as you stood up, please do 20 squats, get the blood flowing again. It'll say, don't take the elevator there. There's a staircase right, to your left, take that, or drink water. I think I will drink some water here. You're dehydrated, right? So the ability for AI to be there as a hyper professional health coach all the time, monitoring not once a year for a physical, but continuously monitoring your physiology and optimizing your physiology. Massive opportunity.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And one thing that the one thing that bothers me about the current state of AI, you look at like ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, it's almost like the large language models are commodities. And yet they have, trillion-dollar valuations because they have enormous numbers of users, but they have the feel to me like a commodity, like an
Yes.
apple. Like one
Yeah.
apple is not that much different from another apple. I'm talking about the fruit, not the computer.
Yes. I was getting.
Yeah. And so at some point, I think hard AI has value. Like a lot of the things you're describing is what I would call hard AI, like humanoid robots or, smart rings that are looking at what your body needs and so on. That's like examples of hard AI. But
Yes.
I wonder at some point, the large language model is just a commodity. At one point, is there really not a lot of value to an open AI?
So I don't think the value in OpenAI or Anthropic is actually being properly measured. And, it is commoditizing very rapidly and demonetizing, and it's going to be driving extraordinary capabilities for 8 billion humans on the planet. But I want to take it in a slightly different direction. I think that these companies are going to start building applications on top of their AI that are different than the commodity, right? And they're going to start generating revenue from verticalized application layers. What's even bigger than that is that these AI systems, when they become, I think they're already well at AGI by whatever definition you want to use. And when they become, super intelligent in the next few years, imagine if they're able to solve physics and chemistry and material sciences and biology. So imagine if Anthropic or OpenAI or Google comes up with a longevity therapy that adds 20 years to your life. What's that worth if they own the IP for that? Or if they come up with room temperature superconducting, or they come up with, the newest fusion approach. These are trillion-dollar things that they can build on top of their technology stack.
That's true. And then I wonder if, these are all, let's call them centralized companies. So OpenAI, of course, gathers data from all over the world in every source, but there's a set number of employees that have programmed their models and feed the system input and process the output. There are decentralized AI platforms like BitTensor, Akash, Render, these crypto decentralized AI platforms. As compute gets easier, I wonder if decentralized is going to beat centralized also, just in terms of the economics of these companies. And so the decentralized platforms, where you'll have the best AI programmers from all over the world, you won't need just the employees. The decentralized platforms eventually, I think, could overtake the centralized platforms.
We'll see.
So look, Peter, always enjoy all of your books. I mean, I've been a fan since day one. And
Thank you.
We Are As Gods, plus the podcast Moonshots, plus
Thank
must
you.
read every day is your Meta Trends newsletter. It's like the one newsletter I consistently don't unsubscribe. Like I'll read a newsletter for a while, and I'm like, oh, I stopped reading that. I'm gonna unsubscribe. Your newsletter is always on, keeping it subscribed. So I always appreciate your knowledge and how you deliver it and everything I've learned from you. And thanks once again. It's like the 10th time you're on the podcast, and I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you, James. Grateful for your support, and you are an incredible interviewer, and grateful for that.
Thanks,
Thank
Peter.
You. You well.